there is going to be a lot of upset, unfinished teams out there. There will be one lucky winner of the Juan Soto, whatever you want to call it,
Sweepstakes.
his bat. One lucky winner, and whoever that is will hopefully be using lube when they have to pay that contract. Juan Soto is obviously on the free agent market. We've been talking about him forever. Everybody is talking about him. There are a couple teams that are pulling away, and kind of it's known. The Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers are always like in the mix. The Blue Jays, the Red Sox. James, is there another team that you see that is actually going to jump in on this, or are these the real teams that are actually in on it?
It seems, and from all the reports, that these are the teams. I'm still shocked that the Orioles haven't made a play. I'm really surprised.
Yeah, I'm amazed too. That one is very surprising to me because it seems to make sense.
Yeah, it just makes all the sense in the world. But I think it's going to be one of the 5 teams that you mentioned. All the reports are saying that the Toronto Blue Jays will not be topped. And they have to do that because Juan Soto's mom, I don't know if you're aware, she's a tax expert. And every time a player goes north of the border, they always talk about the taxes, the taxes, the taxes. So guess what? They're going to have to go above and beyond if they're going to make that big of a difference in Juan Soto's mom's mind.
I can't, and right now I'm trying to pull up, see if there's anything different. I imagine Ontario, which is the province of Toronto, and Canada's taxes can't be a whole crazy lot different than like California or New York.
Higher.
It's higher, but I can't imagine it's that much crazy difference, especially from those two places.
I think it's like 5%.
It'd be interesting. I'd love to break that down. I'm sure there are people that have gone onto X or somewhere and broken that down. Reddit, please. So if you follow those people, if you see that, please send that our way. Throw that in the comments. I'd love to see what that breakdown is, what the difference is. But they have to overpay. And at the same time, I think when you're looking at it and you know who your competition is, right? So it's a unique market last year with Ohtani. Incredibly unique market. There's only a couple places he's going to go. There's some cities out there that are just screaming for him, and he's screaming for them back and saying, okay, I've limited myself. Aaron Judge did the same kind of thing, limited himself. Plus there was the injury concerns, and people there was only a couple teams out there that very, very few. With Juan Soto, it's got interesting because in all reality, there really haven't been any teams out there that's like you're just like no. Like the only reason that we've said no to teams are financially they're not going to put up the money, which is unique because normally it's like, well, that doesn't make sense, or no, that the team doesn't work or whatever. Now it's like, no, they just can't afford them. But there's a lot of teams in baseball now, and this is why I think the Juan Soto deal is going to be constantly money numbers are going to keep going higher. And this is the one reason I think it is, not necessarily because of his talent. We know the talent. We know the talent is going to provide $500 million worth of value. The reason this thing's exceeding to 600, there's some reports saying 750 out there, is the Dodgers. And the Dodgers came out and said very openly that Ohtani, well, they haven't said it specifically, but there's reports and everything. There's enough chatter. The Ohtani deal to them is like nothing.
Yeah,
because they made
all the
money back, right? They've made so much money. They've already won the World Series. They've all the playoff, all the marketing to Japan. I mean, there's so many different avenues that they're angling here, and he's probably the most marketable base player in baseball, even though he doesn't really speak English. It's amazing. But they made so much money. They're like, yeah, it was a great deal. And so every team now is looking at going, oh, like – what he did with the Yankees this year, what Juan Soto did with the Yankees this year, bringing them back into true upper level tier baseball team relevance, added the number 2 with the dynamic with him and Judge. And then just the energy, the excitement, the smile on his face basically every single day. Every team's going like, that needs to be on the side of my stadium, on the side of every billboard out there and marketing and putting our team logo on that. Do you agree with that? Do you think that's why this money is going up? Or do you think it's like Scott Boras just being an incredible agent? Or do you think it's just the teams and it's Steve Cohen and then it's the entire country of Canada, like basically kind of going at it, and then you get Steinbrenner in the back corner saying, "Don't forget about us," type of thing.
It's because you have all of the big market teams are in it. So when you have all the big market teams, they're all going to be fighting against each other. And you have stubborn guys like Steve Cohen is be like, I'm not going to be outbid. Forget that. Then you have Scott Boras. Whenever you have Scott Boras as the agent, you know that the guy who is the client is going to take the most money. He's not going to leave any money on the table. And then here's the big one that nobody talks about. You know who the biggest problem with this whole thing is? John Heyman.
That he completely screws all of us over by reporting the wrong thing, then reporting the right thing, then the wrong thing.
No, he's reporting what Scott Boras tells him to report.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Let's call it what it is. John Heyman has Scott Boras in his back pocket, or actually Boras has John Heyman in his back pocket, tells him exactly what he wants to get out there. So a team like the Mets, for example, when John Heyman is reporting that Toronto's not going to be overbid, Steve Cohen is saying, the hell they're not, because I'm going to do it bigger. And all of a sudden, 50 million here, 50 million there, all of a sudden it went from 600 to 750 potentially. It's not going to go that high, by the way. I don't think it's touching 700, but it's going to go high because you have that reporter who's out there and telling everybody, oh, this is what's going on with the Red Sox. So the Yankees are freaking out. They're like, oh my God, the Red Sox might get him. Let's pony up some more dough. We can't let him go to the Red Sox, to our arch rival.
And this is a rare time in a rare position with the youth of a player, where it truly, again, I don't know if I'm looking at a roster across Major League Baseball and saying that doesn't fit. There's no place there for him. I mean, like
he's the
San Diego, right? Like, just because it just didn't work out well, but I could see them probably making a bid for him anyways. Like,
but San Diego was actually in negotiations to get him a long-term deal, and then the owner died. So yeah, San Diego, they could have had him if it wasn't for, just bad timing.
Yeah, I don't know. And that's the crazy thing is that across the league, I'm like, I don't know if there's a team that would sit there and say, I'm not going to put a bid out there. Like, I can imagine 30 teams at least knocking on the door. Maybe, there's some realistic teams with, like, the Rays, or you're sitting there and looking at,
Oakland or
Oakland. Well, not even Oakland. You can't say Oakland anymore. Sacramento. Yeah. By the way, it really screwed me up on Fangraphs, and where it doesn't say Oakland anymore. It just says ATH, and I'm like,
Athletics. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what team? I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I don't like that they don't have SAC. They should have SAC. They're Sacramento. Again, whatever they want to go off, they just got called. They can't just be, they should probably just call themselves the baseball team, the athletic baseball team. Just go for it. Just own it. Maybe change your logo to the Redskins logo. Just go for it.
How about you make Prince's logo with a baseball bat in it, and they can be the team formerly known as the Athletics?
That right here, copyright, trademark that, whatever you got to do. That's actually awesome. What is your predictor right now with Juan Soto? What is your number? What's your team? I know we've talked about it before, but like, has anything changed in your thought process?
No, I still think $650 million to the Mets.
To the Mets. Again, and this is I love this. This is what John Heyman. I mean, all the reporter, every journalist always does this when they're talking about baseball, and they're like, "Here are the 6 teams, and there's one mystery team," and you're like, "Shut up." Yeah. Just shout. That saves your ass when you say, "Oh, there's a mystery team out there. Oh, we don't know who it is, but somebody is contacting Boras." And you're like,
"You know what I want?
You know what? There's 24 mystery teams apparently, because he only listed 6 teams."
I want Juan Soto badly to go on Instagram or something like that and just be like, "I've decided to take my talents to South Beach," and just be like, "No, I'm just messing with you. I'm going to Toronto. Screw United States."
So I'm going to say this. Obviously, I don't think the Dodgers are as real players as some of the other teams. I think at some point their dollars and cents are going to, someone's got to sit there. And I think we'll talk about this in another episode. I think I want to talk about how, like, debt and major league teams and, like, taking on these contracts and deferring them constantly, how that's going to catch up. And I think Major League Baseball is going to probably make a rule at some point. I think they have to step forward from an owner standpoint, say, "We like the contracts, guys, but there has to be something about the amount of defer money you can
Mhm.
put, like versus rostered money. I think there should be something there. Anyways, I don't think they're as big of a player as like the Mets, the Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox. But I do think the Nats are playing in this. I think the Nationals have something in this. They have a young core, and they were all brought in by trading Juan Soto. They've got this good young core. They might like to gamble a little bit, but they've got a great young core, and that's a place he knows, place he loved. He won a World Series there. There's so much, like I guarantee you, there was a pressure from ownership and management saying, we have an opportunity to bring our boy back, and the money makes sense, and we have no money on the books. Basically, they've got nothing, and it's all young core. Like, all right,
Yeah.
let's start with this. I don't know if Juan Soto would do it just based on like, okay, do you really see the core players becoming World Series champions? Because if I'm looking at them, I'm looking right down the street, a couple blocks away, basically, and going to Baltimore and going, well, that's the champion. That's the next 5 years
Yeah.
right there. And if their numbers are even close, I'm going right to Baltimore. I'm going to get the same fan base ish.
Yeah.
Like the same people that were rooting for me down the road are probably going to root for me here. There's not that much. There's disdain, but there's not hatred between those two. They're going to root for their boy, especially if he's coming right back. So like, and again, it's like no one's talking about Baltimore. Like you talk about this, like let's just throw the whole AL East in there. They should all be in there minus the Rays.